Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is our first ever Sage 300 office hours. I am Katie Geyer, Sage 300 Customer Success Manager here at BrainSell, and I will be your host for today. I am joined by our wonderful, amazing Sage 300 engineer, Squealy Mason, who's going to show you a little bit about the various parts of Sage and answer any of your questions. So we want this to be as interactive as possible. So don't be shy. This webinar is for you. So everyone will be upgraded shortly to the panelist, and which will allow you to use your microphone. So up in the top right, you can unmute yourself, ask questions live at any time during this hour. You may also use the question box to submit questions if you want to just do it that way. So I think we're ready. Let's hop into it. We have just a quick kind of agenda on some of the topics that we'll be covering. But as a reminder, again, this is for you. So feel free to ask questions, even if it's not something that's on the agenda here or that just pops up as Squealy is kind of going through some of her tips and tricks. So we will now switch the screen over to Squealy to get us started.
Okay, can y'all see my screen now all right?
Yes, looks good.
Okay, so at this point, I was just going to start with resources. I wasn't sure everyone was familiar with all the different ways they can actually find out how to resolve some of their own issues or learn more about the product. So in Sage, at any screen, so I'm going to go ahead and open up a screen. Once you drill down to some sort of a screen, if you press the F1 key on your keyboard, the F1 key literally opens up your browser. All right, Katie, can you see my AP invoice entry screen?
Yep, I can.
Okay.
Looks good.
So this explains where I was. I was, in fact, on my Sage AP invoice entry screen, and now it's taken me to the help for just that screen. And then I can select the fields and controls, and basically any tab, I can continue to drill down and get a definition of what it is and find out more about it. That's one way to get help. Another way to get help is by actually selecting the help button. So all that, the first option was just press the F1 key. The second option is to actually select help up here in the upper header of the Sage menu and go to help topics, or I could go to product documents. The product documents will actually take you to another web screen with each version of Sage. So you could actually go back to 2019 and you could actually open up a user guide, and you could actually open up like an accounts payable user guide, and there's your PDF. At this point, you could save it, print it, download it. I mean, this is basically the book of the Sage product. These are your user guides. They're all in PDFs instead of books. They no longer ship out books anymore, so you've actually got the help product online to get that. The other option, I can get my screen over here. The other option is YouTube. If you go to YouTube and just type Sage 300, you can have all of the Sage tutorials and videos and accounts payable and ERP, quick and easy overview. There's all kinds of add-ons, and here's just free YouTubes about Sage 300. So that's always a nice way. And then one last way is Sage City. If you'll just type Sage City or type www.sagecity.com, and it'll take you to a welcome to Sage City. And our product is way over here called Sage 300. When you pick Sage 300, you can actually create and join the group. It's basically no cost. It's just your think it's just your email. Then you can actually go through and look at items. You can get more information. You can look at some knowledge bases, see what other people are doing. So Sage City is a tremendous resource available to you that you could even drill down and get some knowledge base information. So lots of resources available for Sage 300, just right there in your own location without having to wait on somebody. Oh, how do we know what version? I see a question. How do we know what version? Okay, so back to the help menu. If you select About Sage, and again, it kind of depends on the version you're on, but help and About, just like every other Microsoft product, it should tell me up at the top, it's 300 premium. Now this is 2020. Sage is currently into 2023, but this particular demo, I just kept it 2020 because I felt like more people were in 2020. You can actually go to System Information and then look at the modules. So everything with a red check. So this particular demo has got accounts payable, accounts receivable, it's got EFT processing, it's got general ledger, purchase order, and you name it. So the red checks let you know, and over here is my update version. So the help is a wonderful button to click on, just help and products or help and about, and find out more of what you've got. So Sage, this Sage 300 product is a very date sensitive product. And a lot of people at the end of the year were calling, asking about when to close the year. So I thought I would just kind of briefly go over it. In the general ledger, under the GL setup options is a posting tab, and it will tell you the current fiscal year. So right now, this demo thinks it's the year 2020. If I select periodic processing and create new year, it's going to go to 2021. So before I do that, I like to go check my current year to make sure I'm not closing the year more than once. And you can keep number of fiscal sets available, or clean them out. It's however you like to do it. But the date is critical. When this company is set at 2020, it will not allow me to post to 2021. It will literally create an error batch. And that's when you have to kind of track it down and figure out, what happened. But it's all date sensitive. You can send any transaction really to any location. In this particular demo, you can allow posting to previous year or not. You can allow it or not allow it. So either way, these are just different ways of locking it down. And then, of course, you've got the actual fiscal calendar itself. The fiscal calendar, see, I've actually got the year 2023 created, even though my GL is still in 2020. My calendar is 2023, so I can actually work in subledgers in 2023. I just can't post to the GL past 2022, past 2020. So it's all date sensitive, which I like. I like it. Gives you lots of freedoms. And the other trick is, if I wanted to lock my periods, you just look for the X's. Sometimes that little button is a little confusing. It says unlock all. So if I double click on it, now everything's unlocked, but then it says lock all. So it's kind of a toggle between the two. You just need to remember that the X's mean it's locked, and the no X's means it's unlocked. Or I could lock just a particular period if I wanted to. And on the same lines as versions, I know a lot of people had questions about 1099s this year, the end of the year. Depending upon the version of Sage that you have, will depend on how your 1099s ran. So in the 1099, when you actually print them, this is of course 2020. So the 2020, it's going to print it right here from the screen just by hitting the button. let's just do NEC and NEC. And actually, I think I've only got data for 2020. Oops. Great, nobody's out there. But these days are gone. I guess my point to this screen is when you update beyond 2020, when you get up to 21 and 22 and 2023, this is no longer going to be controlled by Sage. It's going to be controlled by a company called Atrix. And a lot of you are familiar with Atrix if you ran payroll. And payroll, if you ran your W-2s, Atrix kind of takes over. As soon as you print e-file, the whole puppy gets taken over. We'll see if it'll trigger. Normally it triggers you to do an update every time you go into it, but the 1099s are going to be just like this. It's going to get taken over by Atrix, and they'll control the form and everything. So that means next year you really won't need to buy 1099 forms. You can basically use blank paper. Right now the W-2s are just blank paper, just blank perforated paper, so you don't have to buy the forms anymore. Atrix is going to automatically print the whole form for you just on blank paper. So next year is probably, this is probably the last year Sage is going to be doing it. It's going to go straight to Atrix. My goodness, it's going to ask me all kinds of questions. Well, just realize that's going to change. Your 1099s and your W-2s are going to be run through a third-party group called Atrix, and they are delightful. I've enjoyed working with Atrix, and you can email them or call them, and they're tremendously helpful. All right, some other, I guess, tricks that I don't know if people realize. At the end of the year, we are always trying to clean up stuff. And one of my favorite little tricks is the AR periodic processing create write-off batch. You can actually, it's that kind of thing where you print your age trial balance and you've got a couple of negative dollars here and a couple of cents there. It's just odd things on your age trial balance that you would just love to get rid of. If you go into your write-off batch, and I try to take it slowly. I'll pick maybe all transactions, but I'll pick a particular range. I won't do all my customers. I'll just do, maybe the first few, and say, look for any amounts that are like, -5. Maybe I've got some negative numbers out there, and tell it to process. Right, nothing's found. All right, let's make it, I don't think I have any negatives. Let's go that way. So depending on how you answer it, okay. So basically it ran through about 3 or 4 customers and found 4 adjustments for me automatically. And all it does is prepare them for me. So once I've run my create write-off batch, this is just a process to gather my batch. Then if I change over to AR transactions and then go look at my adjustment batch, that's what it does, is it hands off to the adjustment batch. I've got a new batch with 4 entries. And if I open that batch, I'll have invoice number 21 for $95. It's a little bigger. I've got invoice. So basically it assumes what I want. And then I can actually, if I want it, or I can just delete it and say, no, I don't want to bother that one. And I can just kind of manually dig around until I find what I want. And then when I find one I want, I try to do the opposite. So there we go. So it's going to go to bad debts. I could send it to another account if I wanted to. Bad debts is just kind of the default. And I can send it to that amount, and then it'll basically just take it out of that vendor or that customer, excuse me, take it out of that customer, and just clean it up. And it does it document for document. So it just keeps it keeps it nice and clean. So the create write-off batch is just a nice way to do house cleaning and clean up old transactions that you just would love to get off that age trial balance. Any questions while I pause to look around? All right, well, and the next, I guess, tool that I love is the import export. If you ever needed to export your vendors, I mean, you could actually export your vendors and put them in an Excel file, I don't know, and create a sales promotion something. So I could basically go to any aspect of Sage. I'm just going to go into vendors. And from my vendors, up here at the top, there are these little menus. I'm going to select file, and then I'm going to select export. So import brings it in, export pushes it out. So I can export, and I just go for the vendor information, say okay, and then put it somewhere. So I generally make a folder somewhere that I can control, and just call it something like vendors. And I can actually make it an Excel or a single CSV. Probably those are the most popular. Either the Excel or the CSV are the most popular ones. Now I get everything. I may not want everything. You could actually come through here and clear some of this stuff up. I could actually, you know, unselect all these things if I'm not interested. The easiest way is almost to come here and right click, she says, right click and do unselect, and then just select what I care about. Maybe I just care about the vendor name, the address, city, state, zip, contact, phone. That'll do. And then look at the next one. I don't really have any optional fields, so I'm just going to clear those out altogether. So basically all I'm asking for is just name and address of my vendors, and I'm going to send it to csage vendors.xls, and I'm just going to say okay. All right, so 33 got exported. So now if I go find it, I can actually go to that same location. Well, let's make it easy. There it is. I must have it still open. Come on. Well, fine. Make me look bad. All right, let's close that. All right, try it again. There it is. So basically there's my short name, customer, my vendor name, my address, my contact, and then it's an Excel. You can do with it whatever you please, but it's quite easy to export and pull things in to Sage. You could import or export. You could actually import vendors. You could actually come in or make a change. You could actually do the reverse and import and do a mass change of all your vendors and change something, maybe the GL code or same something. But you've got the ability to push and pull data. Pretty much most of the screens, you'll know when you open a screen and it says at the top, file, import, or export. And then if I go to customer inquiry, I don't think I'll have import or export. But if you're interested in anything, yeah, see, that doesn't have an import or export. So anywhere you open a screen in Sage, like on customer groups, I should be able to import or export. So you can tell when you open a screen if it's something that you can push or pull, import or export. And if you've got it in like an Excel file, the key is this header. You can basically bring in data. You could bring in new customers or new vendors in a big fell swoop, so you don't have to enter them manually. But same with general ledger. If you wanted to bring in GL accounts. You could import or export, again, just by clicking File, Import or Export, and you can bring in data to and from your Sage 300 that way. A lot of my clients have add-ons, and they'll basically go into their accounts receivable under their invoice batch list, and they'll create a new batch, and then they can import from an outside source and bring in their invoices without having to enter them manually. A lot of my clients do that. That's just a good way to marry different systems together. So you can use another computer for inventory or construction or whatever, and then or even pharmaceutical, and then just import the batches into AR so you don't have to enter them manually. Same with GL. You could actually have an outside payroll system, and you could actually go into your general ledger, make a new batch, click on File and Import, and then go get whatever the batch is that somebody sent you from ADP or some other group. But you can actually import the journal entries. Or if you had just an unlike system, maybe you've got more than one company, and some companies are in, Peachtree, and some companies are in Sage, and some companies are in other things. You can actually bring them into General Ledger through an import without having to manually type it. So that's all of those are available to you through that import and export feature. And it pretty much protects you. It's going to keep you from damaging your data. So that's ideally the way to do it, is through the import or the export feature. All right, any questions? No. So before I import, I make sure I dump my data. So in Sage, there's a feature called Database Dump. You can either run it from inside of Sage, or you can go into your Windows and find Sage and find Database Dump. Both do the same thing. Both bring up the same menu. You do need to be admin. Somebody will have to be the admin and have the admin password to do it. But the nice thing about a database dump is it's a backup. So if I came in and put in my secret password, it's going to ask me for my data set. So the data set is, where do you want the backup to go? So I can basically browse anywhere on my system and put it anywhere I want. In fact, well, let's see, I keep mine sometimes under here, and I even have my end of years, but I'll go ahead and put a backup, and these are my different companies. So my sample company is here, but you basically, and you can even make this an icon on your desktop. I have even had people just, see if I can clear off my screen. I can clear it off enough for you to see. If you, come on. Oh, sorry. Let's get rid of that. If you clear off your screen long enough, you can right mouse click and go new shortcut, or let's make it even easier. Click on Windows, find Sage again, and find the database dump and do a right mouse click, and you can pin to start, or you can put it at at your file location, so you can drop it on your desktop so that it's always there. The nice thing about having a let's see, mine is actually, there it is, there's mine. There you go. There's my, Katie, can you see my icon? Okay. So,
Yeah,
so I've actually got an icon, and when I double click on it, there I am back at my dump. If you had your database hosted, this is a way to get a backup of your data on your site. The database dump is a beautiful thing. I've encouraged people before tornadoes, before any kind of catastrophe. I've had hurricanes come in, and you can dump the data, and what it does, it'll put it in a zipped up format. So mine was under C. So here's my format. So it's all these little REC files, and there's AP, AR, BK, GL, IC, OE. So these are all my files. So I could then take this whole folder and I could send it to like a jump drive. I could have it go to a jump drive. I could have it go to another hard drive, anywhere, and put it off site, and then run for the hills. Let the hurricane come, but you've got your data, and as long as you've got your data, anybody can reinstall Sage, and you can run it from anywhere, either another hosted site or a laptop or whatever you want. But that data, that database dump, is your data, and that's worth its weight in gold. That's what you want. That's your data. So that's a good thing to do. If you do a big change, or if you did a lot of work, dump the data. If like I said, a storm's coming, dump your data. This is just a magical thing, and people have forgotten about it. We've gotten very dependent on our IT department, and I love them, but this is just a nice way to do a backup yourself of your data very quickly, very efficiently on your location. Now, there's also some other tools in that same location under Sage. You've got database copy. Database copy allows you to copy your existing database into like a test company. So you can practice. You can make your own little test database. Database load is the opposite of a database dump. So you dump the data to back it up, but then you load the data to put it back in. And then database setup just identifies all your different pieces and parts. So those are your kind of your tool chest. And like I said, you can make buttons for them. I've got them up here. There's my load. So there's my backup, and there's my restore right there. I just keep them buttons on my desktop. All right. And I'm going to take another breath. Does anybody else have any questions?
Nothing online, but again, feel free to jump in, those of you out there. Something spurred a question.
So now I'm gonna dive a little deeper. I'm gonna go into some kind of stuff that's going on in the background. One of the things that you have to do is you have to connect to your database through an ODBC link, which is all foreign to me and everybody else. But Sage holds your data in like a SQL database. I don't know if people are familiar with SQL, but this is SQL that I've got on my screen, and here's my sample database, and here are my tables. So you can see there's my AP, where's my AP vendor? My AP vendors are right here. AP vendor. A lot, it makes sense. I can right mouse click and I can look at it. So this is literally the raw data in SQL. So there's my vendor ID, there's my vendor short name. So all of my information is here. Now, you don't necessarily want to give this to anybody, but the point of this is you've got tremendous flexibility when it comes to reporting. So armed with that knowledge, you could conceivably run something like Crystal Report Writer, and connect to your database. All of the Sage reports, for instance, I mentioned the age trial balance. Shall I do that? Maybe that won't be too big. Let's just print that. Whenever you print a report in any aspect of Sage other than the general ledger, it uses Crystal. All right, Katie, can you see the report?
Yep.
All right.
It looks good.
So up there is what you need to know. So this is the ARTBAL01. So knowing that, I could conceivably then go into my Crystal Report Writer and actually open. Right, I got to change to, so that's I got to change to my AR. So go to Sage, go to AR. There we go. Oop, is that right? What I said, AR, BAL01. Okay. Wrong one. All right. BAL01. There it is. So that is the report. So on the one hand, this is the printout in Sage, and on the other hand, this is the report in Crystal. So you could conceivably make modifications. Granted, this is probably not a fun one to look at. It's probably better to look at something like a check format, like an AP. Let's go look at a check format. That's going to be nicer. Again, notice the naming convention: AP for accounts payable, AR for accounts receivable. I've got a 6.4 and a 6.7, so go to the latest one, go to your highest number, and then I've got my AP check 01, and then here's my check layout, and at any point you can drag and drop, move, you can drop in here and change information, you can move things around, I can shift up and down and do whatever you want, and make it do what you want. So I'm a big fan of Crystal. I think just recently we've gotten some people interested in it, but every report in Sage is going to give you its name, no matter what it is. Even if I did like a batch list, it's going to give you the. Ooh, I shouldn't have done that. That's going to be ugly. See, I printed too many. Oh, there we go. Too bad. It's going to give you the name in the top, so it tells you who it is and what it is. So you're able to kind of, do some stuff. I'm a big fan of just taking what's already been done and just make some minor modifications. If you wanted to create a report from scratch in Crystal, the other trick you need to know is how to find your data. So you'd have to go into, and this is where I was talking about earlier, you'd have to know your SQL. This is where knowing some of your SQL, knowing your password, and then being able to get in, then I can actually see my tables. Now we're back to these tables. So here's my ARSAP vend. There's my AP vend again, and there's my AP vendors. So I can basically come in here and I can do vendor ID, I can do name, address, and what have you. And then just finish, and then I've made a report in Crystal, just the way I wanted it. So Crystal is a tremendous tool for creating reports from scratch, from modifying existing reports. Once you kind of figure out the relationship and how it connects through that ODBC link, you really can do a lot more than what you've got. Even with Excel, let's see how smart I am. If I go into Excel, some of you are Excel aficionados. Come on. Here. In Excel, there's a thing called data and a thing called get data. And you can get from a database, and then you can go find your, is that it? SQL database. But you can actually dump data into Excel from your Sage. And those people that are, let's see, if you know a few key things, I should, there we go. See if I can find my AP VIN. Now, I'm focusing on AP VIN. Here's my AP VIN. And drum roll, there they are. So I've now just exported, or rather just grabbed all my vendors directly to Excel from Sage. So you've got some nifty tools on how to hang on to things, and I just really, the versatility of Sage 300 is amazing. You've really got ways to do things, to push and pull data, and to make it work with other products, or to just basically take what you've got and use those resources for, you know, marketing, sales, analysis. A lot of people are quite good at Excel and can use Excel to do pivot tables. As long as you know, update the data, you're good. The general ledger is different. The general ledger has its own financial report designer, and it's a live link. So basically, at any point, once a batch is posted in the general ledger, it's going to show up in your financials. But these do not use Crystal. This is the only report aspect that doesn't use Crystal. This just uses Excel. And I don't know if you've looked at it very much, but the designer, it literally starts Excel. You have to give it a minute. Once it connects, then you have to go find something. So let's go find a where are my financials? I have no idea. All right, so again, GL, there's two GLs, there's a 6.4 and a 6.7. Always go with the latest number. And then you've got financials. So you've got the quick ink and the quick bow. And actually, I wonder if that'll work. Let's do it. We'll do quick ink too. If you find one you like, rename it to something better. These are just the standard procedures, but I wanted you to see how it's already set up. So it's already set up to use these account group codes. So if I go to my general ledger and I look at my GL accounts, and if I look at, let's go find a revenue. Generally they're around 4,000. Okay, account group 15. So now let's look back at my sheet, wherever it went. There it is. Okay, 15. So that works. So basically, all of my accounts that are matching 15, so I could actually, here, wait, let's do this. Another nice feature, see, I don't see 15 anywhere on this search, but if I go to my settings and go to my columns, I can add my account group, if I can find it. All right, those are segments, account group code, and then I can even move it up. And there it is. So they're my account groups. So now I can actually see what my account groups are. So when I run that revenue financial, it's going to grab all of the GL account balances that have the group code 15. So that's a nice, so and you do need to check this, because sometimes people add accounts and they just neglect to put an account group. If you don't put an account group, it goes to just other, and it kind of messes up the reports. These reports are designed so it'll go to account group 15, and then the cost of sales 19, and then this is going to be net year to date, and this is going to be last year to date. Let's see what happens if I run it. I do an FR show. I don't know if you've looked at this very much, but it's really quite a nice tool to have. But you can do an FR view and basically run the financial, and I'll back it up to 2020 and see if there's anything in there. And I'll back it up to period 12, and I can make it separate or consolidated, or I can change any of this information. Otherwise, what it's going to do is I'm still in my spreadsheet, but it throws it down below. So I can see right off the bat, here's my current year to date, here's my last year to date, all in the context where I'm working. So I can see if I'm missing something, I can see if I've got any blanks, but you can see, oh, everything looks good, there are no blanks. but you can kind of resolve your issues right here on the screen without having to go print it out, see how it looks, and come back. So this is a tremendous tool, I think. If you don't like these little account group codes, you don't have to use them. In fact, I believe I've got one. Let's see if I've actually made some very custom layouts. Let's go back. And I can actually run back further in history too. There's older stuff. Let's see what that does. Oh, that's no help. I thought I had a better one. You can actually do an account code range. I was trying to find one with an account code range. I thought, and it's worth it to see. All I see is canned ones. Oh wait, I do have one. Hang on. All right, so this one, oh shoot, I still used that range. Okay, you don't have to use the group ID. You could actually just say 4,000 to 4,999, and that would basically get all my revenue in my company, and it would be the same thing, and then you wouldn't need this at all. You could just run it on, as long as that column A has account numbers, this whole line will run and work just fine. So that's, I swear I thought I had one out there that I could, just for giggles. Well, okay. How about that one? Nope. All right. Well, I tried. So, and after all that, in the in the add-ins FR, there's actually a wonderful help that actually takes you through all the FR codes and what they mean and where they go, the FR paste, all the formulas. If anybody's interested, let me know. I really love this product. I really love this General Ledger Financial Designer. It just there's not much it can't do. There are a few things, but not much. A lot of it is really just makes the General Ledger, everything come available. It doesn't really consolidate well. So if you had multiple companies, it's you'd have to get the GL consolidations module if you wanted to get like more than one company into one financial. But other than that, it's pretty nice. And then one more thought as we're getting to the end here. Back to the SQL setup. A lot of people, Microsoft graciously gives everyone a product called SQL Express for free. The problem with SQL Express is sometimes you can run out of space. And you'll get a weird error when it happens. But basically, the limitation of your database for free for SQL Express is 10 gigabytes. If you go into your SQL and find your database and click on properties, it'll basically tell you how big it is. So this is plenty. This is not big. This is small. It's only 688 megabytes. But now if I go to a bigger company, if I go to, because just recently I've had to update several clients just because they didn't realize. So like that's, well, even that's not that big. But people are hitting 10 gigabytes. So just realize that SQL Express is no cost. It's free. We can download it online. Everybody can have it. It's a great asset, a great way to start. but at some point you may exceed that database size, in which case you'll have to move into a standard SQL, and you're looking at $2,000 to $3,000 just to get that put in. It's easily done, but it's just it's a limitation that people don't realize. I had a client, and they started in 2013, and they've already bumped up against. We've already had to expand them into a bigger SQL. So just be aware, SQL Express has a database size limit of 10 gigabytes. All right, that's really all I planned to talk about. I hated to just wear y'all out. Does anybody have any questions?
Squealy, I don't think anyone has questions, but I actually did, just on behalf of customers. I know, so if someone isn't as familiar with Crystal reports, I mean, what would be your suggestion to help them get up to speed with it? I mean, I know we get questions all the time. You know, I built this custom report, but it's not working. Like, how would I go about fixing it? I mean,
well, I'll tell you the funniest way is the way I do it. When I get in trouble, I get on the internet, I open a new page, and I do something like, whatever the error is.
Excellent. Yep.
I'll just come in here, and there's, yes, thank you. Sorry, guys. UPS just came in. This basically, I'll even put in errors that I get in Crystal.
Okay.
And there's like all kinds of free information. But the other option is just give us a call.
Yeah, give you exactly.
Track it down. I've gotten pretty good at tracking down errors. The internet is a great place to do it. But Crystal is a well-known report writer. It works with every accounting product and then some out there. They have made themselves, and I guess they're owned by SAP. But they, well, here's some tutorials. Here's some samples and templates. But the easiest thing is to start small. Open what you got. Look, here's the 1099 report. I had to open this up a couple of years ago and move the 1099 report around for somebody. It wasn't lining up to the box. So I just came in here and moved a couple of things around and saved it and kept the same name, and it fixed the customer's problem in 2 seconds. So
Perfect. That's great.
Play with it. I love Crystal. I think it's great. I certainly don't know all of it, but it's easier to work on an existing report than it is to do one from scratch.
Right.
Yeah. So I recommend it. I think it's great stuff.
That's great. I don't think there's anything else. Squealy, you gave us so much information. Thank you for doing that. And thank you all so much for joining us. Squealy, just for sharing her knowledge. She's a wealth of information. She's always available for all of you. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out. And we would just ask, as you exit the webinar, there's a survey. So we're just asking for what you'd like to see in future sessions. This is the first time we've done this, so really important for you to give us whatever feedback. We'd appreciate that. And if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is listed here below. And yeah, thanks again, all of you, for your time.
Hang on. A message. It says, was it, let's see, from Eduardo.
Oh, that's from Eduardo. Yes.
To use Sage data and analytics, you must specify the related web address subdomain. When I push, I'm not sure which icon. Can you specify related web address subdomain on the company profile screen? I'm not sure what that is. Can you give me a little more information?
Sure. On the very top where you have open company, closed company, the file, the objects, then you have desktop view, macros, then you have one which is miscellaneous. It's a node website, and there I have an icon that says.
Whoa, slow down. Let me get there. Let me get out of.
Yeah.
Let me get out of this. All right. So
I noticed that you didn't have that. It's just between help and macros. There's a place called miscellaneous. Okay. And there's one icon that says Sage Data and Analytics.
Right. Well, yes, I may not have the product. That's right. That is correct. We may not have. Well, won't let me out. There we go. So over here, Okay, it's a different add-on. It's an add-on. All right, so when you go into it, it's asking you, so like if I've got EFT, there we go, thank you. That's a newer product, and it works with inventory, doesn't it?
I don't know.
So
We
what
don't
it may
use
want,
inventory.
it may want your SQL information,
Hmm.
because it's trying to connect to the database.
Hmm.
Specify related, okay, address and subdomain. It could be it's asking for your SQL information. So when I go into SQL, I've got this information. If you can see my screen,
Mm-hmm.
it may be asking for your server name and maybe your login and password for SQL so it can connect to the database.
Okay.
Could that be it?
To be honest, I don't know. I mean, every time I try, I know that there is possibility to do some data analytics, but
Yeah.
I've never been able to do anything with it. So
Send Katie a screenshot.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Katie, send it to me. Maybe I can just
Yeah,
help a
just
little.
take a, that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it sounds like it's that inventory product.
Mm.
It was the Sage, inventory analysis is what it sounds like, and I just have not worked with that very much. But that doesn't mean I can't figure out what's going on.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, I'll
All right.
send a screenshot to Katie. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
that'd be great. Yeah,
Hey.
thanks so much. I was so appreciative of you, Eduardo, jumping on.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you.
Yeah.
Take care. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Thanks again, Squealy. Appreciate that.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you both.